It's a place as alien as space, a fluid world of darkness and cold and extraordinary forms of life. Though at risk here, humanity descends in shells of steel, compelled by our insatiable curiosity. Hidden in the haze of the sea are creatures so immense and so mysterious, they seem unreal. A mammoth pulse of life picked up through hydrophones, the beat of a heart so large it can be heard 2 miles away. No animals more enthrall us than the giants whose songs echo across the vastness of the deep, who roam somewhere beyond our view and our understanding, the largest creatures ever to live on Earth. For all life in the sea, successful feeding is the key to survival. Many creatures, like the manta ray, take advantage of a remarkable food source. Swarms found throughout the ocean of plankton, larval fish, and tiny shrimp called krill, collectively the greatest mass of protein in the entire world. Filtering out the tiny food through strainers in its gills, the manta can live on the relatively sparse plankton of the tropics. But the great baleen, or toothless whales, also filter feeders, must find greater concentrations of it elsewhere, or they'll starve. The great whales' search for food can force them to journey across an entire ocean. Masters of starvation, they can survive on their blubber while they wait for the plankton swarms to reappear. Barely visible to us as red surface patches marked by birds, the massive krill swarms in cool upwellings or polar seas are the primary food sources sufficient to sustain the greatest of all whales, the rarely seen blue whale. A blue often drives krill to the surface, then lunges to engulf them, clamping its huge mouth shut like a trap while on its side. Comb-like filters in its mouth, called baleen, act like sieves, capturing the krill as the water drains away. The whale simply swallows the meal that's left. More than 100 feet long and 100 tons, the blue whale is the largest animal ever to live on the Earth, surpassing any dinosaur. Its heart is bigger than a small calf. A child could crawl through its largest arteries. Their voices are equally mighty, carrying at least 1,000 miles through the sea. Yet as large and loud as they are, blue whales are among the most elusive of all creatures. The story of the whale is one we can piece together only as fragments, gathered species by species from the farthest corners of the world. One of the best places to peer into the lives of whales is Peninsula Valdez on the southern coast of Argentina. Each winter, right whales follow unknown routes from distant feeding grounds to gather in the calm shallows off Valdez. Once found along the coast of every continent, the right whale was hunted to the edge of extinction. Today, their numbers have recovered to about 4,000. Peninsula Valdez is one of the great intersections of sea, land, and wildlife left on Earth. Elephant seals gather here by the thousands to breed, and share the beach with Magellanic penguins, who also migrate here each year, then waddle ashore to claim a patch of sand. Since 1970, biologist Roger Payne has walked these same beaches to study the right whales.
This is my favorite place in the world. Here in Peninsula Valdez, right whales come so close to shore you can spend an afternoon walking along a beach in their company. And at night, whenever the herd moves into the bay, the sound of their breathing wakes you. On the head of every right whale, roughly where facial hair appears on humans, there are hard white patches of thickened skin called callosities. We found that no two patterns are exactly alike, making it possible to tell individuals apart. The males have more and bigger callosities, and they use them like horns to fight over females. Using callosity patterns like human fingerprints, we can now follow the lives of more than 1,300 individual right whales. Some, like Trough, have become old friends.
The relatively quiet waters of these bays seem an ideal nursery for the whales, while the cliffs provide a perfect vantage point for Payne and his team to observe whale behavior. On average, right whales give birth to one calf every 3 years. Curiously, 1 in 50 is born white, but only remains so for the first year of its life. Fewer than 10 white calves are ever alive on the planet at the same time. Like people, mother whales keep their babies right next to them, where they can be watched continuously and protected. Like children of all species, whale calves seek attention, and to get it, a mischievous calf will sometimes drape its body over its mother's blowhole so she can't breathe. Adults can also be playful. A whale will often hold its tail up as a sail and ride the wind. They don't sail to get places. Perhaps they do it just for fun. Tail slapping and breaching serve many purposes. They may be a form of communication. It seems to be a challenge to other whales and often gets the whole bay going. When seas are calm, right whales often rest or sleep head down with their tails in the air. Naturally buoyant, they got their name from whalers. Because they were rich in oil, which kept them afloat when killed, they were the right whales to hunt. On occasion, members of Payne's scientific team must approach near enough to check the general health of an individual whale by close inspection of its skin. Though the diver is here to observe the whale, her subject seems just as interested in her. Observing whales in their habitat can be dangerous. A blow from a fluke that weighs a ton could easily render a diver unconscious. Eye to eye, across the gulf between species. Although we've learned a great deal about right whales, an enormous mystery remains. We don't know precisely where they all go when they leave Peninsula Valdez. We know only that they'll be back again next year. Another chapter in the whale story can be found off Hawaii, a major breeding and calving ground for humpback whales, a species we know better than most other whales. The sailing vessel Odyssey will allow Payne's team to both study and live among the whales. Almost immediately, whales appear. Though many people are unaware of it, dolphins are actually toothed whales, along with porpoises, the smallest of some 75 whale species in the world. Most whales, like the humpbacks, have to be sought out, but dolphins often come to us. Dolphins spend their lives immersed in a sea of sound. They use whistles to keep in touch and rapid clicks to examine their world through echolocation. What captivates Payne most about humpbacks is their underwater sounds, but to hear them, he has to leave the noise of the Odyssey. In the 1960s, Roger Payne and Scott McVeigh discovered that humpbacks sing, and Payne has spent years recording their songs through hydrophones.
We know next to nothing about what the songs of humpback whales mean. We do know that only the males sing. It seems to be done to attract females and to challenge other males. Everyone in this area sings the same song, But it changes subtly over time. Like human singers, humpbacks often employ rhymes, apparently to help them remember complex songs. Suspended, head down, and motionless, they sometimes sing for hours at a time. The songs are shatteringly loud.
Biologist Debbie Glockner-Ferrari has worked in Hawaii since 1975, studying humpback whales. At age 6, her daughter is already an eager assistant.
I love working with whales, especially mothers and calves. But they can be difficult to study because they're often pursued by groups of aggressive males. Though they may look peaceful underwater, 10 enormous male humpbacks rushing by can pose a 400-ton threat to any researcher who happens to get in their path. Physical contact with their mothers is very important to the babies. As an observer, my own relationship varies from whale to whale. Their natures often seem as diverse as human personalities. Some barrel past as if I'm not there. Others will let me approach freely. This small calf we've named Echo. Her mother's name is Misty. Echo is always curious about what's around her. Young calves are often playful, swimming right up to get a closer look at me. But their mothers are always nearby. Humpback mothers are pregnant for about a year. They give birth to a single calf that weighs 2 to 3 tons. While the baby's nurse is thought to gain about 100 pounds a day in the first few weeks. Like humans, whales are air breathers. When Echo was born, her mother most likely pushed her to the surface for her first breath of air. Often a male suitor will accompany the mother and calf, and while the mothers and escorts typically stay under for about a quarter of an hour, Babies like Echo have to come up for air every few minutes. Humpbacks breed and give birth here in Hawaii, but they don't eat here. To feed, they must undertake an incredible journey, swimming more than 3,000 miles to Alaskan waters. During that long migration, the calf will rarely leave its mother's side. A young whale would stand very little chance of surviving alone in the open ocean. When Misty and Echo leave for Alaska, I feel excited but worried for them. Their trip across the ocean and back is filled with hazards. Some of the whales I've gotten to know have never returned.
Ships plying modern sea lanes cross migratory routes of whales. Accidental encounters are often fatal. Through a gauntlet of dangers, Misty and Echo will follow ancient whale pathways to Alaska. Within the watery depths are bones of their ancestors. Reminders of the days when whalers waited along these migration routes, driving many species to near extinction. Though whaling is now much reduced, it still continues, and some whalers kill even endangered species. How whales navigate the globe is still a mystery to us. They may be assisted by the calls of distant whales, beacons to guide them through the deep. Though masters of navigation, there are some obstacles they cannot avoid. As whales approach the coast, some get caught in fishermen's nets. Even the strongest whale, struggling to free itself, may drown. But in faraway Newfoundland, a lucky few in this predicament get to meet biologist John Lean, who has freed more than 1,000 whales. In a hopeful change of conscience, the human has turned from hunter to helper. One might expect an entangled whale dragging the boat of its helpers to be aggressive, but John has never been hurt while freeing them. The whales seem to know they're being helped and accept it passively, perhaps even gratefully. After weeks at sea, the humpbacks approach Alaska. Some may have lost nearly 1/3 of their weight since last eating. No animal on Earth makes a greater effort while going without food. One of the gravest threats faced by traveling whales comes not from people, but from their own kind. Here, A skull of a killer whale is a ghostly reminder that they lurk in the surrounding waters. Armed with massive teeth, they are to other whales the most fearsome predator in the sea. Roaming in packs, killer whales often prey on whale calves and even attack adults. In open water, there's no place to hide. Not all whales will reach their destination. A final piece of the whale story lies in the icy waters of Alaska, both feeding grounds and journey's end for the migrating humpbacks. The Odyssey and its crew have sailed here to wait for their arrival. Around Odyssey, the season of plenty has begun in the far north. Though the humpbacks are headed here for the swarms of krill and tiny fish, the spring and summer months in Alaska also provide a bounty for year-round residents. A wildlife spectacle around them, but no whales in sight. Days of looking turn to weeks. As big as whales are, they can be hard to find. You can often hear them before you see them. long and hazardous journey is over. The whales have made it back. A big male comes to the boat and rides the bow wave, something Payne has never seen a humpback whale do before. As the day wears on, more and more whales arrive, but to the crew's disappointment, Misty and Echo are not among them. Finally, a procession of mothers and calves begins to arrive. Then, the moment they had hoped for. By sheer luck, they spot a calf with familiar markings. It's Echo. And Misty is with her. They've made it, unharmed. The long months of fasting end as the herd assembles to feast. Dependent until now on their mother's milk, the calves are about to get their first taste of krill and fish. Humpbacks have developed one of the most unusual feeding strategies in the sea. In a coordinated action, they blow nets made of bubbles to encircle small schools of fish. Then, while one submerged whale screams to concentrate the prey, they all rocket upward through the bubble net to engulf the trapped fish in their huge mouths. It's a perfect strategy. The fish won't cross the barrier of bubbles. Seldom seen by humans, it is one of nature's most extraordinary sights. When summer ends, the humpbacks turn southward again, continuing the ancient cycle of their lives. Most of their existence remains shrouded in mystery. Yet the more we learn, the more we move to protect their world, so that far into the future, our children's children can still marvel at the songs and secrets of the mightiest creatures the earth has ever known.
Coming up. Surface. Coming straight at us. 50 meters. Under the bow. Right below you.
Making a motion picture about creatures as unpredictable and elusive as whales presents a clear challenge for any movie producer. So filmmakers have joined forces with conservationists, educators, and scientists for the production of this big-screen IMAX adventure. Through the unique cooperation of authorized whale researchers working under government permits, the production team has been allowed access to endangered whale species, allowed to bring cameras into the whale's natural habitat. Dr. Roger Payne is one of the world's leading conservation scientists. He has spent nearly 30 years studying a variety of whale species. As co-director of the film, Payne has developed a plan to guide the production to the best locations for whale observation and photography. Aboard the research vessel Odyssey, the filmmakers are transported across the world's oceans in the constant search for whale activity. Inside the main cabin, the IMAX camera is prepared for operation. Because of the extreme shooting conditions, great care is taken to clear it of debris. Even the smallest speck of dirt can scratch the film, rendering it useless. And footage of whales is too valuable to take any chances. Unlike 16mm or video cameras used for most documentaries, the IMAX camera is too heavy for handheld operation. So specially designed platforms provide necessary portability. Working closely with the camera crew, co-director and co-producer David Clark inspects the unit prior to each shooting session. Clark and his fellow filmmakers are striving for some of the highest quality whale footage ever captured. And accomplishing this means getting as close as possible.
They're still working the shore pretty good. What we got to do is we got to figure out what sort of their pattern is.
Though tracking and photographing whales is difficult enough, shooting them in the IMAX format is doubly challenging. But the results larger-than-life images that immerse audiences in the whale environment are only possible in the big screen format. This is 35mm film, used for most Hollywood movies. Whales has been photographed in 15 perforation 70mm, the world's largest film format. Now, with a picture area 10 times larger than normal, images of stunning clarity are presented on movie screens up to 7 stories high. Using the large format, the filmmakers can transport audiences into the ocean depths, where whales can be fully appreciated for their size and experienced for their beauty. For visually dynamic points of view, much of the film is shot from the air. The camera is mounted to a gyroscopic stabilizer and positioned in the open door of a helicopter. David Clark checks the camera as Roger Payne prepares for flight.
I'm going to be sitting out the door here, watching whales and telling Andy where I see them, because it's very hard for him to see them through the viewfinder on the camera. And we talk through these headsets because, of course, the noise is deafening otherwise. And we can also hear Fred down from the water, who's talking to us from the boat, telling us what he's seeing. So all we have to do is live through it. That's not my favorite part, is flying, I can tell you.
But he's doing it for the whales.
That's right.
He's doing it all for the whales. What Roger will do for the whales. Hang out of a helicopter, whatever it takes. The other thing is Roger knows the behavior of whales, so he can tell the crew when a whale is going to be doing certain behavior. The hardest part is knowing when to roll, so that's where Roger's the expert.
From this high vantage point, spectacular aerial images are possible. Off the coast of California, near the Channel Islands, blue whales, the largest animals to ever inhabit the planet. Aerial photography allows the filmmakers to successfully record moving images of otherwise elusive creatures. It also lets viewers experience the thrill of flight when soaring over exotic locations, like Patagonia. The production has come here to Peninsula Valdez, renowned for its beautiful scenery and wildlife. The cliffs overlooking Peninsula Valdez offer the best view of right whales, the rarest of all whale species. The camera is carefully brought down the steep embankment and prepped for a scene Roger Payne has created.
This shot I decided I wanted back about almost 20 years ago, when one of the students who was here took a boat down below us, and we saw it right next to a whale. It was absolutely beautiful. So that's when we decided, let's do it.
Filming the scene requires the help of Payne's research assistants, who move into the bay.
You hearing anything?
Yeah, I can hear, Roger.
Put down an anchor so you don't make noise. I don't want you to scare the whales off. Now, you want to put Kim on the point?
Payne has learned that right whales routinely swim near this coastline, making observation convenient for the researchers below and the film crew above. It isn't long before whales appear, moving steadily closer to shore. The camera and Kim. As whale and human swim together, unique moments of close contact are forever preserved on film. Capturing these dramatic underwater images meant sending the camera beneath the surface. Not far off the Patagonia coast, the underwater crew scans the area for right whales. Once sighted, cameraman Paul Mockler and assistant Manny Hernandez prepare for their own close encounter.
The visibility is really good here. But now we got two self-adults off to the bow, starboard side, about 15 meters.
Secured inside its watertight housing, the IMAX camera is loaded and ready to roll. The 200-pound unit is lifted out of the boat and down into the water. If Paul and Manny run into any trouble, the housing is buoyant and will float to the surface where it can be retrieved. They prepare to film the nearby whales, holding the camera just under the surface before diving. Underwater, the whales seem ready for their close-ups. the divers described the experience.
The first pass by, she looked at me, very curious. The second by, she stuck with me like glue. You know, she was so playful. It's incredible.
They really suck you along, don't they?
Oh,
they pull you right along with them.
I mean, they look right at you, they come up.
His eye was right against the camera.
Never have I ever seen anything like that.
Obtaining close-up footage like this can be dangerous, especially when a whale's 1,000-pound tail swings so close to the camera it bumps into it. The cameraman here was caught off guard, as though grazed by a speeding semi, but kept rolling, transforming a routine shot into a special encounter. For similar encounters with another whale species, the production heads for Hawaii, the breeding ground of humpback whales. To film these creatures in the clear Hawaiian waters, the producers have called on co-director Al Giddings, one of the world's preeminent underwater cinematographers. Giddings has spent the past 25 years filming in every ocean from the North Pole to Antarctica. His credits include motion pictures like The Abyss, The Deep, and the James Bond film For Your Eyes Only. Filming humpbacks can be an arduous process. Once a group of whales is spotted, Giddings must quickly get in the water and roll film before they leave the area.
Al, said he just went straight down.
It takes all of Giddings' experience and skill to handle the camera's sheer mass, while at the same time recording breathtaking images. After this successful outing, the camera is pulled back up. For Al Giddings, it's some of the best whale footage he's ever shot.
That was nice. It's that same group that we had before. 2 males, female, and calf. Nice shot.
For a scene following dolphins, a unique visual perspective was desired. Capitalizing on the fact that dolphins routinely swim alongside a ship's bow, the filmmakers have devised a way to let audiences see what dolphins see. A special camera rig was constructed expressly for this purpose. The metal frame is lowered from the Odyssey into the water, where it is manually placed into position. The crew stabilizes the structure with ropes tied to several points on the deck. Below the surface, the rig is secured to the hull, every bolt tightened, everything double-checked before entrusting it with the IMAX camera. Later, with the camera protected inside its underwater housing and positioned directly beneath the Odyssey's bow, it's time to film dolphins. Out on the ocean, they soon appear, riding off the bow as predicted. Moving with them, the camera assumes a dolphin's point of view. With unique shots like this, the Odyssey proves to be a reliable and flexible camera platform. Nowhere is this more true than in the icy waters of Alaska.
The reason we come to Alaska is because humpback whales come to Alaska, and they are here only during the summer times, which is their feeding season.
To give the filmmakers greater options when photographing humpbacks, a special boom arm was constructed and extended out from the Odyssey's deck. The camera is carefully brought to the far end and mounted to its platform. Out over the water, the boom gives director of photography Andrew Kitsanuk the flexibility to pan and tilt the camera as needed without the Odyssey obstructing his view. Now he can follow humpbacks closely, even hover above them for an array of incredible images. Away from the Odyssey, in deep water, the camera crew prepares for a scene showcasing the humpback whale's most visually exciting behavior, lunge feeding. Because this feeding pattern is difficult to predict, the filmmakers have enlisted the aid of Fred Sharp, a whale researcher and expert on humpbacks in Alaska.
Okay, what we want to do is just, before we get too close, monitor a couple of these.
Sharp guides the camera crew, looking for the telltale sign of feeding humpbacks.
Looks like we're getting a nice strong bubble net. We've got calm conditions, so we should have plenty of lead time. Just film everything when they're diving. Yeah, they're down a long time. They could come up anywhere now.
Sometimes the whales elude the camera team.
Yep, there they are. Yep.
Other times they come close enough to touch, but seem so aware of their own size and strength, they almost never do. Though the whale could easily capsize the vessel with a simple flip of its tail, it chooses to swim by without incident. For the camera crew, who have been tracking whales for days, the encounter proves more frustrating than dangerous. It's time to reload and try again. When bubble nets do appear, extraordinary images of lunge feeding are recorded.
Lunge feeding takes place by a single animal alone or a whole bunch of whales coming around at the same moment. That's the most spectacular of all. That's when you see whole groups of whales rising to the surface in a great rush.
After months of principal photography in distant locations around the world, a group of filmmakers, conservationists, educators, and scientists has brought whales to the giant IMAX screen. Thanks to stunning cinematography from the air and beneath the waves, along with skill, determination, and endurance, the production team has combined art and science to create a new perspective on these mysterious marine animals.
Never in all the years I've been doing this have I had anything remotely approaching the kind of success and results that we've had here.
For all those involved in the making of Whales the Motion Picture, the journey spanning thousands of miles across the world's oceans has proved challenging, rewarding, and inspiring.
This trip has been unbelievable.